All right, now, everybody. Quiet, listen to me. We're going to start a show. Now, some of you people have been with me before. You know it's going to be a tough grind, but we're going to have a show.
And hello from soggy California. If we're lucky, we're just soggy. It was pretty brutal for a lot of people in California, mostly desert communities and foothill communities, I think. But wow, I mean, this was a historic situation, and it kind of functioned in a historic way. Kim, you're okay, though? You're miles away.
Kim, how are you?
Miles away from the action.
Northern California didn't get much action here.
It was kind of
a few fat raindrops, and that was about it.
Sort of on the scale of what we were talking about on Friday with Spencer Christian. Albert, all good with you. You could,
Albert, thank you.
I don't know where you are most of the time. You can bounce back and forth from NorCal to SoCal to Central Cal. Where were you, buddy?
Northern California. It was dry. It was pretty dry for me this weekend.
All right.
For weather-wise, dry.
Yeah, you were, of course, you were cocktailing, as you like to do. You know.
I had my first fantasy football draft, and I do partake in some beverages.
Oh, of course, fantasy football draft. Who's your quarterback? Give us your backfield, if you would, please.
Oh, I have Josh Allen in this league. As well as
that's a strong pick.
Yeah, rookie Anthony Richardson. So I quarterbacks in this league, so I'm excited.
All right. Who are your running backs?
It's not looking too great. I have Jonathan Taylor, who's fighting literally with his owner for the Colts, who's actually trying to save a certain Orca that's going to be in the later on in the show.
Yeah, how about that? That's very, very cool. It's life coming together.
Yeah, it's funny how those two worlds have collided, but I just want him to play.
And now, what happens if they cut him? How does that work in fantasy football? You get another pick?
If they cut the actual player, well, you're stuck with the guy until he goes to another team. So
no kidding, I didn't know that.
Hopefully, he lands to a good spot if that's the case.
Wow. Well, Albert, I'm glad you're in a good head, having cleared out with your fantasy football picks for the weekend. I'm glad Kim's morning has gone well so far with the Nikki Maduro show.
Fantastic.
And I will tell you that we have a big show here with a lot going on. Albert, I'm going to say something to you now, and I really mean it, even though I'm going to say it in a quasi-sarcastic way. We are counting on you today because we have a lot of stuff to get to, and I've pushed it on to you.
There's never been anything like this.
It's a lot of media. It's a lot of graphics, and we have guests coming in. Bottom of the hour, Courtney makes it with another mystery, and it's a mystery of the moment. And then in the second hour, Karen Dawn is back. You may recall her from last week. Was it last week or 2 weeks ago? Yeah. She had a report on what's going on with animals and sort of the treatment of animals in various venues. And she writes a regular newsletter, and it's really well respected. And and she's pretty great at shedding light on things and also not being too heavy-handed, you know. And Kim is the one who suggested we should have her on all the time. And so
Is it a major announcement?
Well, no, I don't think it's a major announcement. I think it's in fact, let's see how it goes.
Wow.
But we do have a major announcement. And I wonder, Albert, if you could ready the meet and greet graphic that kind of lays out what's going on, or the couple of graphics. Maybe Kim can do it. Who wants to do it? Should we do the major announcement now? I hadn't thought of it, but Kim mentioned major announcement, Albert, and I thought, well, maybe this is the time to do it. So,
this is it.
The Mark Thompson Show.
What do you think, Albert? Should we do the major announcement now?
Yeah. I think the earlier the better. Yep.
All right. So without any further delay, I'd like to talk to all of you who are regulars here. This may be of interest to you. If you're just passing through, I doubt this is going to appeal to you particularly, but I would like to talk to my regular audience.
Wow.
Yeah. We're going to have a very special first of its kind. Oh, wait, you have to do the important major announcement thing?
What kind of announcement is this anyway?
Yeah. Oh, wait a minute.
I think we could just stick with the
Oh, we can? Okay.
Martini
Yeah, we don't need
music.
to do a major announcement. Anyway, all right. So now, anyways, I was saying. Yeah. So as I was saying, we're going to do our first ever virtual meet and greet. We did do a meet and greet a few months ago, and that was a success, but this is the first official new and improved meet and greet, and it is limited to 20 people. It is a virtual meet and greet. It features an AMA. That's right. An AMA is
What?
Ask Me Anything.
What?
Yes. It'll be 2 hours.
What?
Wow.
And special guests are going to come through also.
Ch-ch-ch.
We are chit. And we are limiting this entire thing to 20 people because we want to really have a chance to talk to people and get to know people. So sorry, but only the first 20 people
You
get.
cannot say you love your country.
Well, if this goes well, we will broaden it and do others. It might even become, something that we do every month or so. But I'd like you to be part of it. So if you want to be part of our meet and greet, you RSVP. Where do they RSVP, Albert? Is that on the second page?
Let me grab the second page real quick.
Here comes the second page. I wish it were free, Vilma. It is not free, sadly, to drink in the magic. Kamish, do you have the second page or not? Oh my God.
He's furiously
Give me a
trying to
moment,
find
it's,
it.
I just don't know what,
I'll just say,
is producing this thing has no idea what they're doing.
Well, I asked him, do you have it? And he said he did. I don't
Yeah,
get
they
it.
do this to me all the time. I don't know what the hell they do it for.
All right, Albert, we don't have to do it now. We have an address, a separate address that you'll RSVP. Oh my God. Here it is. It's the virtual meet and greet. It is next Monday, a week from today, from 7 o'clock in the evening till 9 o'clock in the evening. These are Pacific time postings. So if you come from the Eastern time zone, do your math. 7 to 9. The guest list is limited to the first 20 that sign up.
Okay.
It's $50 to reserve your private link, but here's how it'll work. You'll RSVP to mtsmeetup@gmail.com. And then the first 20 will RSVP to that RSVP. We'll show you, it's a quick link to lay down a 50, and you're in. And that gets us 20 people. We're excited. It helps raise some money for the show, of course. And more than that, I think it's going to be a lot of fun. This is going to be 2 hours, so we're really going to let it breathe. We're only going to have 20 people, and you do not have to be on camera, Trevor asks. Do you have to be on camera? No, you do not. In fact, the fewer people on camera, the more camera time for me.
Do you know who I am?
Yes.
I'm kind of a big deal.
I like my camera time. Thank you, Trevor. 2 hour long. Sounds hot. It is hot, Crazy for Cash. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. And so, as I say, with the 2 hours, the people who were part of the virtual meet and greet that we did some months ago, you helped us enormously because you stepped up, and that meet and greet was even a bit more expensive, I think. But more than that, we realized we didn't have enough time to really get to. By the time we got to know everybody, it was time to wrap up.
Yeah.
So this is 2 hours. We'll have more time. Everybody will be on. You don't have to be on camera, and we think it'll be fun. So again, you RSVP to mtsmeetup@gmail.com, and we'll send you back the link, and you'll make a contribution at $50. You seal your spot. No one can take it, and the first 20 get it. That's how it works. We'll remind you again, but I think it'll be great. I'm looking forward to it. And so we'll keep you posted on where that stands on signups and that kind of thing.
The Mark Thompson Show.
It's a hurricane unreal. Never thought it would happen. We get this tropical storm that was a hurricane dying quickly as it hit the coast of Mexico, Baja, Mexico. And then, of course, it moved inland over Southern California. It actually took a little bit of an eastward trajectory, which we talked about also. You know, these things just tack a little bit, a degree and a half to one direction or another. And you end up with going east. But again, the deserts and the inland communities of Southern California primarily were dramatically affected. Also the foothill communities. And if flash flooding is always the greatest concern, and flash flooding was the great concern yesterday, but it was preceded by seismic activity in Southern California. There was a quake in Ojai. What was it, Kim? Was a 5.1, I think?
It was a 5.1, and then there have been multiple aftershocks between very small and as high as 3.9. So,
wow.
Yeah. Is this the moment where Southern California cracks off and floats off into the sea? Is this is this like the great moment where it happens? The the catastrophe of I don't know.
Well,
Kim, how are you?
I certainly hope that that's not it. It's nice that you have a narrative. Now, this is a shot of Dodger Stadium.
It is. There's taken by a helicopter, and they were saying it looks like an island that, it's floating around. It turns out it looks more like that because of the angle from the picture, and it's only about an inch of water in the parking lot all around it. But it looks pretty,
It looks
wet.
inundated, right? It looks inundated. It's weird because those parking lots, that's all concrete. So and I thought they're all at a little bit of an incline, a slope away from the park. So I'm really, when I saw this, thinking this can't be a legit picture because it suggests sort of a concave geology or terrain there that's not there. It's sloped away from everything I've been there and it's sloped away. But clearly, I guess it's legit, right? I mean,
yeah.
So that is, as you say, it may be shallow water, but it makes it look like all of Dodger Stadium was flooded on the outside.
Yeah.
Pretty wild. These are shots from Southern California and from the deserts of Southern California. The deserts have been crushed. I was on the phone to Coachella, the official coffee of the show is the Coachella Valley Coffee, and they have a roasting factory or a roasting. What do I want to say? Office or it's a place,
roastery, a headquarters,
a roastery. Good, I like roastery. Very well done. Where they're roasting machines, and I told you they roast all the beans by hand. So anyway, I was very curious and concerned that their place is okay, and he said, "Yeah, we're okay. There's some water in a couple of spots, but we're handling it." And he says, my biggest problem is that the road is washed out. So he said, I can't get to our place right now until they clear the road. So there have been some serious road closures and serious problems, serious flash flooding. And that seismic activity has prompted this repeated question. And people, I saw this on social media, those who ask, is this earthquake weather? Is the weather and is the earthquake related in some way? And of course, the answer is no. And I can expound on that a little bit more if you want. But I don't dump on people for asking the question. Everybody goes, oh my God, how can you be so stupid as to ask, is there earthquake weather? I thought we've answered that. Well, first of all, we're always looking for a correlation as a species, right? As people, we're always looking for the correlation. We're always looking for the association, right? Somebody dies. Oh my God, did they get the COVID vaccine? Oh, did they die from the COVID vaccine then? Is that what you're telling me? How did they die? A heart attack? That's COVID, right? COVID vaccine. We absolutely like a correlative. And so what you see here is you see this huge storm that was super advertised. It materialized in a big, big way.
Yeah.
It's once in a century storm, meaning because of its tropical characteristics, not because of anything about the storm, not because of the rain, not because of the wind, but because of the tropical characteristics.
You mean to say we've never seen anything like this?
I want to say we've never seen anything
There's
like
never been anything like
yeah,
this.
I mean, have you ever
We've
seen
never seen anything like it before.
nothing in our history, would you say?
There is nothing in our
history
history that quite compares
to this. So because of that, and then the quake, people make the association. I don't necessarily blame them, even though there is no association. But of course, quakes happen miles below the Earth's surface. In fact, I think this particular quake was a little more than 9 miles beneath the surface. So the air pressure associated with any kind of weather doesn't have any effect on that landmass, on the plate tectonics associated with quakes. So seismic activity and weather have no association. One of the most seismically active areas of the world is the Aleutian chain, near Alaska. And so if you think that it's still hot weather that brings on quakes, which was oftentimes the association that was made, I mean, in the Aleutian chain, there's none of that. So no, there's no. Plus, the Earth is super. Well, you know how many miles down to get to the center of the Earth? Does anybody know? Anybody want to? How many miles? Albert, you're going to have to look at this because I'm doing this from memory.
Google it.
But how many miles down is the center of the Earth? Yeah, okay. Let me take a look in the chat. 3,000 miles. Yeah, about 4,000 miles, says Randy. It was the space lasers that caused the... 2 miles.
Let me know when you want the answer.
250 miles. 5,000 miles, says Denise. Yeah. How many miles to the center of the Earth? 4,000 miles, says Harry Agnew. 1,000? All right, the actual retail price, number of miles to the center of the Earth. Kim, give us the, I think it's around 3,000, so 3,100 maybe?
3,959, so...
3,959.
If you said 4,000, that's about right.
Yeah.
4,000 miles.
We would have accepted a 4,000. We would have accepted 3,500.
Yeah.
So, well done. Well, look at you, Tom. Tom with the...
he looked it up.
No kidding.
Tom,
who is the official lifeguard chair occupant for Dingwords, he did have the answer.
I was reading a story, though, about whether rain has anything to do with earthquakes. And you kind of just put that to bed, but there was a scientist saying, yeah, that pressure on, as the aquifers fill or something but they think it takes a lot more pressure than this type of storm. It would have to be like the storm of all storms.
It may be in many years they'll somehow find some association, but I tell you with great confidence, there is no correlation, none, between earthquakes and
rain.
Weather. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, can we produce more earthquakes as a result of man-made activity? Hell yeah. Look at what's going on in Oklahoma and in seismically quiet areas of the plain states where we've started doing what? Fracking. When you put those pipes way down into the Earth's crust and you fire water in there, and of course it's more than just water, it's water mixed with a bunch of chemicals. In any case, that has produced seismic activity. I mean, real seismic activity, quakes. So we can have an effect on that, but the answer is there is no association that I'm aware of between atmosphere and seismic activity. So,
The Mark Thompson Show.
but I don't ever make fun of people who ask the question because I think it's it's a reasonable question to ask. Albert, can I go over this sad story. This really made me angry. It's sad and angry at the same time.
Are you going to bring us down?
I might.
Okay. I think it's okay. I think
it's important. I think it's important. It's not going to bring you down, but
oh, you're bringing it down.
Are we, Albert, are we done with it? Are you sufficiently, you're the boss. Are you sufficiently happy with what we talked about with the tropical storm, the rain, and the quake, or did you want more on that?
No, we're good.
Okay,
yeah, we
okay.
Can move on.
So something happened in...
Albert, thank you.
Something happened, and this is in San Bernardino County, so, this is the area that was inundated by rain, but this has nothing to do with that. This has to do with this fight on wokeism that I think has become, of course, violent. Somehow we've created enough completely concocted fear of tolerance, of wokeness, that it has created an environment of violence that is unleashed now on this store owner displaying a pride flag. A California clothing store owner and designer killed by a dude who confronted her about a rainbow pride flag outside her business. So he made disparaging remarks about the display. And this Laura Ann Carlton, a married mother of 9, was killed Friday. This is after we got off the air, outside her clothing store in Cedar Glen. This is on the shores of Lake Arrowhead, I guess. The killer fled the scene on foot, but was found by sheriff's deputies several miles from the store where this whole thing went down. And then he was fatally shot in a confrontation with the sheriff. The dude was making disparaging remarks about the display, and I believe trying to pull down the flag. And she came out and said, hey, hands off the flag, and he shot her. This woman, again, I say it, mother of 9, was a designer and the owner of this store. She began in the fashion industry. She was just a teenager. She went to the Art Center College of Design in Pasadena. She had a career in fashion design. She joined Kenneth Cole Productions almost at the beginning. She was with the company for more than 15 years, becoming an executive there. And then she opened this spot after she had a place in, I think, also in Studio City. And she, she's this lovely woman. And now she's been killed by someone who was angry about her pride flag. So the idea here, beyond just this, is that the rhetoric of hate begins to whip people up into doing things like this. So you create an otherness about whatever, whatever you want to blame the wokes for. I don't know. You don't like LGBTQ plus people, whatever your deal is, man. It may be racial, it may be religious, but they've created this rhetoric of hate, the otherness associated with the people within a community. And now when you see that pride flag, instead of just any sort of, I don't even know, it doesn't require tolerance. It's just there. It's not like this isn't like a Confederate flag, which is like out there and has an offensive undercurrent to it. It's a pride flag. It's a flag of inclusion, to be honest. Yep. So you see this flag of inclusion, or this sign of inclusion, this emblem of inclusion, and it so riles you up that you start, opening up a can of hate speech on it, and then you kill the business owner. It's crazy. So It's the proliferation of deadly weapons, guns, with the proliferation of hate rhetoric. Those two things meet, and now you've got a business owner dead. And now you've got the dude who shot her's dead too. It's absolutely despicable. And I mention it because it is an outgrowth of where we're going. The more the rhetoric gets whipped up, the more you're going to see incidents like this one. That's why I mention it particularly. It's to recognize this clearly outstanding person who had built this life and built something that was celebrated by a community, and her loss is a significant one. But it's also to say, guys, this is what we're getting with this increasing amount of hate rhetoric. And it's those people are ruining your America, right? And then you fill in those people. Is it Democrats? Hey, they sent those bombs to Democratic headquarters, remember? I mean, this is, the stuff runs together maybe after a while. But it's really sad. And it's a sad sign of where we're going, which is why I mention it as well.
Well, you as you mentioned, you have these people who are stirring up things with words, especially online. The trans hate that we've seen, the LGBTQ hate that we've seen. But what we don't get about just those words is that it whips people up into this frenzy of violence in some cases. You saw it with the crazy that opened fire on that pizza place. They thought there was some thing going on in some non-existent basement, right?
They still believe it. There's still many in that movement that believe that there's like a pedophilia ring worked in that Hilary Clinton is in charge of.
It's the craziest thing. And people think the same thing about trans folks or whatever. So when, now the flag becomes something else to a whole different group of people, when to, the majority of us, it just means, listen, we're a friendly place. You don't have to worry about being discriminated against here. We got you, right? We're your friends. And to some people, it's some type of, flag representing something more sinister. I don't get it. I don't get it. And here's this woman, mother of 9, who's not with us anymore. She won't be able to play with her grandkids. She won't be able to chat with people that come into the store and make new friends because someone had hate.
That's exactly it. And she was clearly a force for a lot of good and a lot of love, Vicky in Sausalito said that her family was blended. Some stepchildren included in the 9 as well. It's profoundly sad, but it's also profoundly scary. In fact, attached to this maybe, and let me just quickly get to it, Albert, I don't know if you can pull out that, there's one poll about trust and where people get their information and trusted information. Did you see that I sent you? It's one of the graphics there that I pushed to you.
Yeah.
Do you have it?
Let me grab it.
Yeah, let's just grab, because I think this is a sign of what we're dealing with as well. When you get your news and information and you have faith in that news information, you get it from one source that's just concocting it, like the, Democrat run pedophilia, whatever, then you end up with some of this. Here is the latest poll. This is a poll from CBS News and YouGov. This is a poll among Trump voters. Feel what they tell you is true. Hang on a second. Okay. Donald Trump, faith in Donald Trump, 71% believing what they tell you is true. Donald Trump is ahead of friends and family. Friends and family is at 63%.
Really?
56% among conservative media figures. And finally, if you're a religious leader, it's 42%. So in other words, Trump is more trusted than friends and family in terms of what he says being true.
The guy who's been indicted.
The most honest human being, perhaps, that God ever created.
Maybe that's the reason.
I mean, how you could? You're not paying attention. If you believe in Donald Trump, and that he's has any inkling of what the truth actually is about anything, you're not paying attention.
Don't talk to me that way.
Well, he has an inkling, believe me. He knows what the truth is, but he also knows that the truth is what he says it is. And he's right. Again, 71% of Trump voters say they trust him more than they trust friends and family, other conservative media figures, or even religious leaders. So I guess what I'm trying to say is when you talk about that stuff with the pizza parlor and the pedophilia ring run by Hillary Clinton, hey, if you have faith that all that stuff is coming from a reliable source, there you go. And it leads to the kind of stuff we've seen.
I don't know how you fix that. I mean, I don't know how you convince people of the truth. It's nearly impossible.
You'll never reconvince them of something. You'll never do that. But you just have to hope that you can hang on to a flawed political system. I mean, I think it's flawed, but it's the only political system we have. And then you hope that it, in terms of putting people in power who can make responsible, truly fact-informed decisions, you just hope that that system continues, because otherwise we're screwed. What's happening is a lot of these people who believe this crap, or at least believe in the power of this crap to raise money or whatever, the Marjorie Taylor Greens of the world, they're bubbling to the political surface. That's your biggest problem, is that this movement is both weaponized, literally, because there are a lot of guns among this crew. And they're, again, you want to have a gun, it's fine, you know, and they're in the house for self-defense or whatever you do. But if you want to start toting that gun to Washington, to talk to a legislator, to the Michigan State House or wherever, I mean, that's a different deal. And increasingly, it's the latter. So, but it's definitely look, these are tough times for our country that way. Can you give us a turbo newscast? And I've got Courtney waiting in the green room. Is that cool?
Absolutely. I can do that.
All right. Smash the like button like a boss. Courtney's standing by. And then Kim's news first, and then some mystery. Mark Thompson Show.
The Mark Thompson Show.
On the Mark Thompson Show, I'm Kim McAllister. So let's start with this fine fellow we just mentioned, because former Trump chief of staff is now trying to have election interference charges filed against him in Georgia dismissed. Mark Meadows, part of a racketeering indictment brought down last week connected to his time serving as former President Trump's chief of staff. His attorneys filed a motion on Saturday to throw out state charges filed in the case instead, because they say he should have been immune for carrying out his job as a federal official. We'll see how that goes over.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's,
I don't know.
yeah.
I don't know about that.
When they raided Mar-a-Lago, God didn't like that.
Yeah.
The Pentagon's former top policy official says Elon Musk admitted to speaking directly with Russian President Vladimir Putin. That's according to a report from the New Yorker. Former Undersecretary of Defense for Policy Colin Kahl said Musk made the comments in October while on a call about SpaceX supplying Ukrainian forces with its Starlink internet service. Kahl told the New Yorker his inference was that Musk was becoming nervous about Russia seeing Starlink's involvement as enabling the Ukrainian war effort. In a tweet in October, or an X, whatever you want to call it, Musk denied reports that he had a conversation with Putin, saying he'd only spoken to him once 18 months before.
No, so now he's admitting to it.
Yeah. Now
he cares about, I think, the economic viability of Starlink remaining intact, right? He doesn't want...
Right.
Yeah, so that's what that's about.
Things running a little more smoothly at major airports after more than 1,000 flights were canceled yesterday due to tropical storm Hilary. According to FlightAware, more than 1,900 flights have been delayed.
Extremely well.
Yeah, right. All right.
1,900
How many flights?
Yeah, 1,900 flights delayed into or out of the United States today. More than 5,000 flights were delayed as the storm hit California. So today, delays, yesterday, more cancellations, but things are getting better. Things are really not better in Maui, where the death toll continues to increase as search and recovery efforts continue. And President Biden today is headed to Maui to survey the destruction caused by those deadly wildfires. The president is also set to announce the appointment of a federal coordinator to oversee the long-term recovery efforts on the island. Job seekers demanding a record amount of money, I guess. You want a lot of money for that job you're doing. According to a new survey by the New York Federal Reserve, the minimum acceptable salary offer to switch jobs topped $78,000 during the second quarter of 2023. That's an increase of about 8% from last year. It's the highest level on record. Clearly, they don't work in California.
So you're saying those numbers would not, those would not work in.
I'm sorry. Then we'll have to move to another state and telecommute in, because that's not going to work out.
Yeah, the guy working the freeway off ramp is making $78,000 here in California.
That's right. Yeah,
he's looking to upgrade. Right.
Yeah, that's a
and
New
he
Yorker
can't afford
story,
a
all
place
right.
to live. Right. Yeah.
No. There's this British nurse, horrible crimes. She'll spend the rest of her life behind bars after being convicted for killing 7 babies and injuring 6 others. 33-year-old Lucy Letby was found guilty Friday. Today, she became just the 4th woman ever in England to receive a life sentence without parole. And lastly, an animal you'd be more likely to find in Australia was rescued from the Coney Island boardwalk. NYPD responding to reports of a person strolling down the boardwalk with a wallaby Friday night. Members of the 60th Precinct arrived, found the exotic animal with its presumed owner, a sight to see for New Yorkers. But wallabies are illegal to own in most states, and that includes New York. The animal was taken to the Animal Care Center of New York, where they probably never saw one of those before. Its owner received a summons for possession of a wild
There's never been anything
marsupial.
like this.
Yeah, you can't have that here. Nope.
Wow.
This report crowdfunded. That means that we rely on you. You'll find the Patreon and PayPal links at themarkthompsonshow.com, themarkthompsonshow.com. I'm Kim McAllister. This is The Mark Thompson Show.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm Shadow Stevens. This is the Mark Thompson Show. Keep it to yourself.
Who's Mark Thompson?
Oh my, it is a Monday. Everybody's toweling off in California. Thank you for joining us today from wherever you are. However you're listening, we're on most major podcast platforms and appreciate you being part of the show as well. As Kim said, we're crowdfunded, so we appreciate all of our donors and our supporters and our patrons, and we scroll their names at the end of every show. On Mondays, there's a lot of stuff going on. The fact is, the kids love their true crime. Yes, they do. And my other half, Courtney, she lives the true crime. And she comes in on Mondays. Most Mondays, she's got, she's building businesses and doing other stuff. I don't really want to know what it is because I don't want to be subpoenaed at a later date. But she is here now. This is Mark's Murder Mystery Monday.
Welcome to Mark's
Red Rum
Murder
Red Rum
Mystery
Red Rum
Monday.
People ask what that is, the red rum. Can you want to tell everybody, Courtney, what that is, the red rum thing?
Oh, yeah. It's from The Shining. Yeah.
And what does it mean?
Red rum. It's murder backwards.
It's murder back. Yeah, that's what I want.
Backward.
Okay. Don't need to have an attitude about it. I was just asking. Jeez, man. How do I get into this? I mean,
they do this to me all the time.
I know. I'm trying to
what the hell
ask
they
a
do it
question to
for.
set her up. And she's like, well, I mean, it's from The Shining. No. Yeah, but what does it mean? It's murder backwards. Whatever.
I was doing a mental inventory to make sure that I said the right thing because I was trying to come up with the movie. So
I see.
There's more that I was.
There's more going on in there.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
Thank you for that.
It takes a while to get the.
Wow. I didn't realize there was so much going on. I thought it was really just a layup. And as it turns out, it's a lot more complicated. So what do you have for us today, Courtney?
Well, I'm happy to be back. It's been a while,
really was
so
good.
thank
We
you for
saw a
having
good
me.
movie last night, everyone.
Yeah, we did.
I want to recommend it. What was it called?
It was called Blackberry.
Yeah. It's on Amazon
Prime.
Cost $7. And not bragging, but I did pay for it. Okay. All me. Like we didn't split it. I paid for it. $6.99. Really.
I mean, that's only the 10th time that you've attention.
Normally, I like to split it, or I'd like to, pressure Courtney into paying.
Yeah, exactly.
Look, I'm not
Such
exactly
a gentleman.
pulling any money down from this damn thing that we're doing, so it's good to have you step up once in a while. But anyway, I did pay for it. It was
worth it. It was worth the $6.99. It was good.
Yeah,
it
it
was
was worth the $6.99. If it were $8.50, I don't know.
I don't know.
But
Maybe
at $6.99, it's solid.
Seems expensive at that
It was
point.
cool because if you know and live through the BlackBerry revolution, then you'll appreciate. I mean, BlackBerry was the thing that everybody had. They call it the crackberry. Everybody couldn't get rid of that BlackBerry. They loved it so much. They were, and if I'm BlackBerry, I guess I have maybe. Also, I might succumb to the kind of hubris, the kind of overconfidence and arrogance that they had. And then the iPhone came along and it just decimated them. iPhone and Android,
Exactly. And it was such a status symbol. And then they weren't innovating fast enough. And then the iPhone came and they made some really bad business decisions.
I'm trying to turn you up. Does this,
so
keep talking.
Sorry, the microphone's a little low.
Why don't you raise it up there?
I tried, but that's when I ruined your. Oh, there we go. Okay. Thank you.
If you could just stay on the mic. Albert, is that better if she speaks just on the mic?
Better.
Okay, good.
Thank you very much.
Great.
I don't know. I don't know why I feel like
this is why I don't come and do the show.
This is, you know what? I don't, again.
I mean, what is this? Self-serve model?
I don't, how dare you? All right.
They do this to me all the time. I don't know what the hell they do it for.
Is Don on the phone, Albert? Get Don on the phone.
It was great. Is Don on the phone?
Great. It was great. It was not great. All right. God.
We're going to talk about this murder.
When you break out this video, cut all this crap out, will you please, Albert? All right. Now, tell us about what you brought today, please.
I'm here today with a murder that is happening right now, and it is the Rachel Morin murder.
Okay. The investigation is going on now?
The investigation is going on right now. So Rachel Morin went for a walk in the early evening of August 5th, and she never came home. She was reported missing 11:30 that night, and her body was found the next day at 1 p.m. just off the Ma and Pa Trail in Bel Air, Maryland, right in the Baltimore area.
Wow, it's where I used to go for Thanksgiving every year, Bel Air, Maryland. That's so eerie.
Wow, that's so weird.
Absolutely, man. That's so weird.
Well, then this is closer to home than I thought. So she was a 37-year-old mother of 5. This is Rachel, if you're watching. This is Rachel Morin. So she's 37, mother of 5. She had her own cleaning company, so she cleaned homes, and she was very into fitness. She sometimes worked out 3 times a day. And she also took a lot of care for herself, and she did spray tans every day, which actually comes into somewhat of an importance when you look at the timeline of the day. So her body was found at the Ma and Pa Trail. Do you know why it's called the Ma and Pa Trail, Mark?
Is it guessable?
It is the Maryland and Pennsylvania Railroad.
Oh, okay, so it's not guessable. Thank you.
So if you go down to the next slide or visual. Okay, so this is the area. This is the Ma and Pa Trail, the Heritage Trail. It's 6.25 miles, and it shows you where in Maryland this is located. So if you go to the next slide. Great. So this is the timeline of the day. So at 2 o'clock, she goes for her daily spray tan to Glow Tanning Salon. She talks with the people that work there, and so she had a very friendly relationship because she was seeing them every day. After that, she went to the gym with her boyfriend. His name's Richard Tubin. She was there for 3 hours.
Who was the killer, probably, am I right? Isn't that how these normally go?
I mean, it's interesting because this all happened on August 5th. She was found on August 6th. And then on August 17th was some crucial information was discovered and then publicly talked about in a press conference.
And Saturday, she's, as you say,
then she goes
at
hiking.
the gym with him. Then she goes hiking.
Then she goes hiking at 6, and she doesn't come home. And so her boyfriend calls the police saying that she is missing at 11:30 at night, and the police go looking for her. The following day at 1 o'clock, a caller calls into 911 and has found the body. So if you go to the next slide, this caller discovered the body in a drain ditch, which is really interesting because if you listen to a lot of true crime, unfortunately, that is sort of where people tend to do horrible things. And
Where
so
they hide these bodies, you're saying?
yeah, just more often than not, I feel like these things happen in that sort of an area. But her body is found in this drainage ditch by a woman named Cecilia. And the police have tried not to talk about the state in which her body was found, because when they arrest the suspect, they want to be able to corroborate that it is actually that suspect with the knowledge of where her body was found and in what state. So if you go to the next slide.
She had 7 kids? Is that what you said?
She had 5 kids. 3 men were the fathers. 5 kids, ages 8 to 18.
Yeah, so Gail was saying, how does she have time for all of this, with the tanning and the workouts and all that when she has 7? She had 5 kids, doesn't matter.
5
Same question.
kids, ran her own business. I have no idea. I mean, I have no idea.
Okay, anyway, who is this guy?
So this is Michael Gabrowski.
Please tell me he's not one of the exes. I mean,
he really dressed up for this
he's got a lot
interview.
going. Here he is, going on to a job interview. After
by the way, he's my age.
Wow.
But his stepdaughter found the body.
I see.
So will you play the audio
of the 911
call?
Albert, can you play the 911 call?
So this is the 911 call of Cecilia, his stepdaughter.
All right,
this
here we
is
go.
Reference the call for the Monpa. Just received a call from a Cecilia who's stating that they have located the Rachel subject on the Monpa going through one of the tunnels that runs under 23 near mile marker 2.75. Priority 4.
1371. Can you go ahead with that message again?
That should be good. Yeah.
Okay, that's enough. Yeah.
So I bring this up because the police have said that Michael Gabrowski did not find the body, does not note the state that the body is in, because he's been talking about the graphic details in which Cecilia found the body. But it's very clear from the 911 call that Cecilia, his stepdaughter, was in fact the person that found the body at 1:00 the following day. I won't go into the details, but I'll just say that she was found without her clothes on and with severe head trauma. Okay. Almost like the person was trying to make it so that people could not identify the body. What is also interesting about that is it's alleged that the killer used a rock or a stone to actually murder Rachel, meaning it might have been a crime of opportunity and something that wasn't planned. So Michael Gabrowski.
Let me just go back to what you just said. So it was this guy who we're seeing, his stepdaughter.
His stepdaughter
found the body, called in the 911 call, and the other part of what you were saying is that she had certain details about the body. Is that what you're suggesting? And she shared those details?
Yes.
And she shouldn't have shared those details.
Well, he shared them and he shouldn't have. Yeah.
I see. Okay.
So
all right. Go ahead.
He shared them. The reason being is it's private to the family, obviously, who are grieving at this time, but also it hinders and creates issues with the investigation.
Right.
So, but he has gone on many interviews talking about how they find the body. He is search and rescue. So he was the one that came up with the idea to look inside of the drainage pipes.
Oh, I see.
So he actually maybe knows what he's talking about. I mean, clearly.
It's not a great credibility picture that he has there
exactly.
going. But
he didn't dress up for the interview.
Right.
But he might know what he's talking about because he's in search and rescue. But the police are saying they're trying to not deflect, but they're trying to discredit what he's saying by saying that he is not the one that found the body, but it was his stepdaughter.
Okay, go
ahead. So this is on the trail. So this is some of the remembrance that's now on the trail. People have been going. They had a walk and a run in honor of Rachel's life. If you go to the next visual. Right. So this is Rachel's boyfriend. His name is Richard Tubin. They had been dating only a couple of weeks, and they went Facebook official on August 1st. She was killed on August 5th. This post is from August 3rd, where she posted several pictures of them.
So it's probably not the boyfriend is what the suggestion might be, because they were still in that place where they're both loving each other and excited about the relationship.
Yes, but he has 20 prior criminal charges, including second-degree assault. And
what?
Yeah.
Wow.
here's the other thing is
So he's maybe prone to physical altercation.
if you go to the next slide, not only that, he said Rachel's missing at 7 p.m. Now,
Right.
I think I could be gone for 4 days and you might not notice.
Well, no.
Really?
Once the party settled
Yeah.
down, I would call somebody, but it would be
Exactly.
It would be anyway.
I would get to it eventually.
Yeah.
Within months, I would
No,
definitely
haven't
have
heard
called
I haven't heard from Courtney in a few days. That's right.
the authorities. But he says she goes missing at 7. Why she went walking at 6. But he called the police at 11:30 to say that she was missing, and he took them to her car. So he knew where her car parked. She did this walk every day. But yes, I mean his background doesn't lend you a lot of
Those are two huge details. I mean,
Exactly.
for him to make the call to the cops, he's I think it's self-incriminatory, isn't it?
well, I'll get to that. But
Okay, go ahead.
so most of the reporting up until August 17th is that Richard Tubman could have been the person that committed this crime. Now, August 17th comes and the police hold a press conference. And if you go to the next slide. Sorry, go to So DNA was recovered from the body, from Rachel Morin's body, and that DNA was put into CODIS, which is a national DNA system where criminal DNA is put into a system so that you can match DNA to potential prior crimes. Well, when they put in the DNA from Rachel Morin's body, there was a hit from a crime that happened in Los Angeles in March. A breaking and entering in a house and a sexual assault to a minor. And this is the video of the person who perpetrated that crime. And if you don't mind playing the video,
Albert, can we run it?
here we go.
We are also following breaking news in Harford County. The sheriff's office says this man murdered Rachel Morin and left her body on the Ma and Pa Trail.
Police say this surveillance video here, taken in Los Angeles earlier this year, shows the suspect leaving a home after assaulting a young girl during a home invasion.
DNA matching the man.
Okay.
Wow.
So you'll see, though, someone's closing the door, which is really interesting. So he's coming out of the door. Someone's closing that door.
Oh, he didn't close it.
There's a hand closing that door. So the
Wow.
thought is, there's a lot
Let's
behind
look at
this.
it again.
So the thought is
Oh, you're right. Wow.
that he entered the home with and sexually assaulted a minor without consent, and obviously if the person is under 18, they can't give consent. And so then he leaves the house. So that man has the DNA that was recovered from Rachel Morin's body. So they are saying that that man is actually the murderer of Rachel Morin.
But that man does not match the description. It does not match the
It
boyfriend.
does not match the boyfriend. Now, what is interesting is
Wow.
what kind of DNA was found. I can't imagine it was incidental DNA. I think it had to be DNA that would have led them to say a statement that this person is the murderer. But they're not saying what kind of DNA was found at the murder of Rachel Morin's body.
That is fascinating.
Now, I could imagine that they're going to put this through the genealogy sites and potentially find the family tree of this man, but they are looking for this man right now. They do not have a name. They just have his DNA from the incident in March. Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
So this indeed is a mystery, isn't it?
It is a mystery that is, I mean, this happened on Thursday of last week, to give you context as to like
Well, you're right on
how
top
much
of it.
this is all coming out. Yeah. If you go to the next slide, I think there's another woman who went missing. She went missing actually in the Washington, D.C. area. She was a teacher at a French immersion school in Washington, D.C. called Dora Kennedy French Immersion School. She was a second grade teacher. Her name is Miriam Torre Silla, and she's 59. She went walking on July 29th at about 8 o'clock, and they cannot find her. And she's about 50 miles from where Rachel went missing and then ultimately was found murdered. So really interesting case. Are they connected? Are they not? But
That's
there's a lot more information. Yeah, I'm basically
That's fascinating.
Giving some of the details of this horrible story, but it is currently being investigated.
Wow. Well, Courtney, that's really of the moment. Thank you.
Yes,
If
yes.
you have a mystery, a true crime mystery that you'd like Courtney to follow up on, please write us. You can reach us at themarkthompsonshow@gmail.com, themarkthompsonshow@gmail.com, and we will push it on to Courtney. Courtney, thank you.
Thank you for having
really
me,
good
Mark.
stuff. Yeah, really intriguing and confusing. I mean, you think you know, and then you don't know.
You thought it was the boyfriend.
I did.
But you know what? Who knows? I mean, I don't know. I don't know what DNA they found.
Right.
So who's to say what happened? The boyfriend was posting a lot on Facebook and then taking those posts down, which is strange. Because like if you went missing, the first thing I wouldn't do is I would not go to social media and post, Mark's missing. That wouldn't happen.
I don't know. I mean,
but
kids with the social media, who knows? But,
I mean, he's also 27. Rachel was 37. There's a little bit of a hubbub that she was older than him, and I don't know. So, yeah.
You'll keep us posted. Kim, questions before I excuse the witness? You'll have to unmute for us too.
What is the first thing you would do if Mark went missing, Courtney?
I know. I was about to say.
After that party.
She wouldn't post it on Facebook.
Within the first 3 to 6 months, I would definitely let someone know he wasn't here. And once all his furniture was taken out of the house and I had to, put in my own stuff, then eventionally I would get to it.
Thompson, party of 4.
Yeah, no, we're a party of 3
I mean,
now.
But
wow.
It's okay.
That's
Morning.
Yeah. Hi, officer. What's the problem?
Morning.
Yeah. We just heard somebody mention that he hasn't done his podcast in a couple of months.
There's a couple dozen people that miss that.
He travels a lot. We never know where he's going to be.
It's a rough room,
exactly.
man. Courtney, thank you. That is Mark's Murder Mystery Monday for today.
Mark's Murder Mystery Monday on the Mark Thompson Show.
Kim's news, we've got a lot to do. Smash the like button like a boss. Albert, throw up the info, if you would, about the meet and greet maybe while we throw down a little sweep. And then excited to get into the next hour as well. I've got an art heist in the next hour.
Oh.
Yeah.
I like a good art heist.
A pretty brazen art heist, too. Brazen is a ding word. And then, of course, Karen Dawn is here from Dawn Patrol with stories of what's going on in the animal kingdom and that whale that you may have heard about as well. That's a bizarre and twisted tale. So that as well. It's all still ahead. Smash the like button like a boss. Mark Thompson Show.
The Mark Thompson Show.
Why are you yelling?
That's not fake. That's real.
It's fantastic.
Who's Mark Thompson?
Hey, which one of you is Mark Thompson?
On the Mark Thompson Show, I'm Kim McAllister. Remnants of Tropical Storm Hilary still posing the risk of serious flooding for about 25 million Americans, but now in the Southwest. A post-tropical storm cyclone is bringing heavy rainfall to the area. The storm system winding down today as it passes through central Nevada and loses steam. At this rate, the rate it's going, Hilary is forecast to dissipate before the end of the day. Meanwhile, air travelers still seeing problems, but fewer today after more than 1,000 flights were canceled due to Tropical Storm Hilary. That according to FlightAware, more than 1,600 flights have been delayed within, into, or out of the United States today. Meanwhile, close to 300 flights have been canceled. Yesterday, more than 5,000 flights were delayed as that storm hit Southern California. Both Maui and Santa Cruz were already in a housing crisis before major fires made the situation worse by removing so many homes available from the inventory there. It is especially challenging for Maui with displaced people looking to find temporary housing where there was already a shortage. Many fear they could be forced to leave the island. The median price for a house on Maui in July was $1,200,000. Officials say the biggest reason for the high cost of housing on Maui, the lack of supply of homes, and that challenge will be even worse now. Nearly 24 people in Santa Clara County are being held on charges of participating in a massive insurance fraud scheme. Gotcha. A total of 23 people busted, including 7 who were arrested last week in the region. Detectives say the scheme lasted for 4 years and involved fraudulent damage claims on at least 40 different vehicles. An investigation also found multiple insurance policies had been purchased with phony identities. Team USA survived a bit of a scare to go undefeated as it wrapped up its pre-World Cup basketball tour. The U.S. rallied from a 16-point third quarter deficit to outlast Germany 99-91 Sunday at Abu Dhabi. Are we paying attention to this, Albert? Does anyone care about this? I don't know. Team USA begins play in the FIBA World Cup against New Zealand August 26th. So
yes, I'm following this closely. Actually.
Are you? Okay. All right.
Do you have any Commish? What can you Commish? What do you have? Any insight into this? The American soccer team?
No, this is a basketball.
Basketball. Sorry.
Thank you for paying attention.
They're looking good this year. It's not your,
I was doing something else. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's okay.
It's not your top tier players, but it's actually being hosted in the Philippines, and Team Philippines will be there. So I'll have
the Philippines, everybody.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah, the Philippines, they're co-hosting this event with Indonesia and Japan. So it's a big to-do, apparently. You know what else is a big to-do?
What's
the
that?
original voice actor for Nintendo's Mario character is moving on to a new role. This surprised me because I didn't realize that Mario had a voice. I thought he just made noises, but okay. The video game company says Charles Martinet will now serve as its Mario ambassador as he steps back from playing the famous plumber. Martinet first began voicing Mario in 1991. See, you could be in this story.
We
Mark
need to
Thompson.
issue a statement. Tell him he's moving on to become the ambassador for Mario. Yeah,
that's right.
That's what happens when they replace you. Yeah.
He made his debut video game appearance in 1994's Mario Teaches Typing. Most video game fans came to know his voice thanks to 1996's Super Mario 64, and he made a brief cameo in this year's The Super Mario Bros. Movie, while Chris Pratt voiced Mario. But again, Mr. Martinet is now the Mario ambassador. So, you know, at some point we all become the ambassador. It's just part of the way life goes.
We're all headed to ambassadorships.
I'll be the Mark Thompson Show ambassador. And
it'll happen. I mean, eventually, you're right. As they said in Citizen Kane, as it does for all men, it came for Charles Foster Kane.
Yes, it did.
Yeah.
And lastly, a Snoop Dogg concert in Texas. Too hot to handle for many people in the crowd. Paramedics in Houston faced more than 24 calls for heat-related illnesses. A total of 16 concert goers had to be rushed to the hospital. That sold-out show held at an outdoor pavilion on a day when the temperatures topped 102 degrees. Yeah, a little hot.
I saw the wildest thing with Snoop Dogg over the weekend. They had taken AI and they married it with a voice app that has a couple of high-profile voices, Snoop being one of them.
Mm-hmm.
And this kid, I say kid, he had some college paper, and he had worked the college paper text through the app, and it's Snoop Dogg reading this super technical college paper.
That's
and
funny.
It's Snoop's voice. It was really funny. Really, really terrific. You can find it online if you so desire.
Google it.
Yeah.
We've done stories about alcohol being bad for you now, but I just would like to go out celebrating the fact that today is is, I believe, well, it was over the weekend. It's National Pinot Noir Day, right?
Wow.
To celebrate
That's
that.
a very strong thing.
Yeah. This report crowdfunded, which means we do rely on you. You can find us at, and you got to use the markthompsonshow.com, themarkthompsonshow.com. It is a plethora of information for you. You'll find the Mark merch there. Thank you. I'll take it. It was done on purpose. You will.
You can find the Mark. There's a click through to the Mark merch site there?
Yes, there's
I didn't know that.
You can find the podcast there too. And you can find the Patreon link and the PayPal link. So
there's never been anything like this.
Thanks to Kim's husband, who really, I think, upgraded the site a little bit. Without him, it would just be lying there. So that's the markthompsonshow.com. Yeah.
That's right. I'm Kim McAllister on The Mark Thompson Show.
They had to close down an entire radio station to silence him. And now he's here. Ladies and gentlemen, Mark Thompson. The Mark Thompson Show.
I think you know what the problem is just as well as I do.
We have processes and protocols and standards.
There's a reason that this place is fun.
Did you really just do that? Seriously, what the
Morning.
Why are you yelling?
What's a guilty pleasure you have?
All right, everybody, we are on. Yeah, that's our virtual meet and greet information if you want to be part of it. We'll mention it through the week. It's a week from today. So we'll do it that night. It's a 2-hour virtual meet and greet. Everybody will get a private Zoom link, and it should be a lot of fun. And it's an AMA. Ask me anything. Kim will be there. Albert, John Daly, Tony, everybody's going to be swimming through. And we have a couple of special guests who may come through also. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. And we've limited it to 20 because we want it to be fun. We want to and you don't have to be on camera like we are. You can just connect and keep the camera off if you prefer.
Will there be snacks and wine?
Yes, there will be.
Will there
as
be
many snacks and wine as you can pack the,
Mark Thompson meet and greet package? No?
Yeah. That's a thought. Well, it's a work in progress. It's all just coming together. So the whole crew will be there, and maybe
wine.
Yeah.
Why Are You Yelling Red? You know.
The Why Are You Yelling Red is a favorite of the meet and greets. Now you must tell me, Kim and Albert. I thought Karen was at the bottom of this hour at
Indeed,
35.
Yes, she
is.
is.
It is true. Okay. Yeah. So if I see her in the green room, it's just she's just super cool to be prepped and ready to go. Yeah. So I don't know if you can do this, Albert, but I wonder if you can rally for me a chunk of Trump. I know my boys and girls like a little Trump news, and I promised this news on Friday. Can you rally a chunk of Trump for me?
I'm ready.
All right. You asked for it. You love it. I promised it. Here it is. Your chunk of Trump.
Open wide.
Ready?
Here comes your chunk of Trump.
It's my favorite food.
With your first bite, here's Mark Thompson.
I have a feeling it's going to be beautiful.
I promised you last week that I would tell you about all of the lawyers that are defending the former president. Donald Trump's lawyers make serious bank. These aren't the guys who he promised us to pay. You know, like that's Rudy Giuliani, who he promises to pay, and then Rudy doesn't get any money, and then Rudy's pathetic demise is played out in front of all of us. But Donald Trump's PACs, okay, these are PACs that have been the recipients of a lot of small donor money. They have spent millions on an army of lawyers to take on these 4 separate federal and state criminal cases. And now, with the former president facing 91 criminal charges in 4 separate cases, you can imagine the legal costs have ballooned. So I thought I'd share with you, because I mentioned to you that I would, how much these guys make. Todd Blanche is one guy. He's 49 years old. He's the founder of Blanche Law in New York City. Already, the case hasn't even gone to court yet, you understand. Already in fees, $353,000 paid to his firm. He has a reputation as an aggressive but measured advocate, they say. He's represented Paul Manafort, Mr. Trump's 2016 campaign manager. There he is. Manafort was involved in a Manhattan case that was all about mortgage fraud and other state felonies, and this guy defended him, okay? And Trump hired him in April, and already his firm has been paid $353,000 by Save America. Now, again, Save America is a PAC. So Trump, the billionaire, didn't pay for it. Trump's PAC paid for it. That's all that donor money that's going out.
I wonder if donors knew when they were contributing that all their money would be going to fight legal cases, if they wanted it to go, to directly to campaigning, or if they care,
Yeah, I mean, there seems to be, based on polling, kind of the view that,
whatever.
He's our guy. Use our money any way you want. Pay for gas for the jet. However you want to do it. He's our guy. The founder of Chris Keiss and Associates in Tallahassee, Florida, is a guy named Chris Keiss. And he's a former Florida Solicitor General. He's won 4 cases in front of the Supreme Court. And he worked as a transition advisor for Ron DeSantis. Trump hired him for the federal documents case in the aftermath of the FBI search of the Mar-a-Lago residence. And he was paid an upfront retainer fee of $3 million.
What?
And again, it all came out of the PAC. Here's Christopher Keiss. He's 58 years old and in Tallahassee, Florida, already in fees in the first 6 months of 2023 and in 2022 when he was hired. If you add it all up, and again, this case has not gone to court yet, $5.8 million.
It's a nice payday.
And I mean,
there's never been anything like this.
So you
have to represent Trump. I mean,
he's being paid up front, as I said, because these are guys, and you can tell just based on their bona fides that they are not going to hang out with the promise of being paid. It's not a Giuliani situation. Giuliani was there to drink in the cameras and the lights and the popularity and the profile. He wanted to be relevant and he wanted to be out there, play to the crowd all the time. And so he was ready to serve up whatever crap he had to and carry Trump's water. This is not Rudy Giuliani. These guys are real lawyers and they want their money up front.
Mm-hmm.
I found a link to a site listing contributions by zip code to these PACs, says Becky. Much money came after 11/2020. Sadly, I noticed many were elderly and they gave daily.
Yeah.
Well, it is true that the elderly have been a big part of this, and part of that, I'd suggest, is that they really wrap in their emails ways in which you'll automatically be triggered into daily contributions or monthly contributions or weekly. In other words, regular contributions that you, unless you're really looking closely, may not even be aware of. In other words, one click defaults to regular contributions. That's their game. And so that may have something to do with it. Evan Corcoran, partner at Silverman Thompson in Baltimore, 59 years old. Mr. Corcoran has gotten $3.4 million already. He's begun his representation of Donald Trump in the document case as well. In the Stormy Daniels hush money case, Joe Tacopina, 57, founder of Tacopina, Siegel, and Diorio in New York. He's already collected $1.7 million in fees. Susan Nechelis, 64, partnered at Nechelis Law in New York City. She's already, in just this year, collected $500,000 in fees. She's there on the, she's actually involved in a bunch of different things. She's been defending him and the Trump organization in a bunch of different investigations, so she's kind of playing the whole field.
But you have to sell your soul to represent him, right? I mean, someone who's so in front of all of us tried to kill democracy in America. So to represent him, you really have to, maybe it's worth that money to sell yourself like that.
Well, first I'll say, yes, you have to really check your morality, ethics at the door. But
Right.
but now let me say this. And it pains me to say it, but I must.
Everyone deserves a defense.
In this country, yeah, everyone deserves to be heard. Now, the problem here, and of course the problem with the system, is that it is insanely rigged to those who have money. And so if you're rich enough, you can skate from many of the things that others would not be able to skate from. And so, to your point, if you can find enough of these various high-profile defense lawyers to take on your case, then you might be in better shape. And clearly that's Donald Trump's view. If you've got the money, why not get the very best? And he does have the money, but it's not his money. It's the small donor money. Over and over and over again, we talk about how, he's a billionaire and all this. And the reality is that the small donors are paying for his defense. I can go on. John Lauro, who is a principal of Lauro and Singer in New York, he formerly joined the legal team in the election interference case. And the guy I really want you to see, and Google him, Albert, maybe you can get a shot of him, Drew Findling. Now, Drew Findling, if you don't know, he is like the gangsta lawyer down there in Atlanta, okay? And he's 63 years old, and if you Google him, you'll see pictures of him with rappers, with NBA players, with high-profile, embattled figures. He's already collected, there he is, thank you. He's already collected $816,000 in fees. He is a prolific figure in this world of Atlanta rap, and he's called the billion-dollar lawyer. He's represented Cardi B and Gucci Mane, and his defense work is really well regarded. Now, he's also, this is just one of these things, he's so mobbed up in that world of Atlanta that he's actually donated money to the re-election campaign of the judge in the Trump trial in Georgia. Wow. So this is a guy who's, and there's nothing wrong with that. He's taken on high-profile murder cases, political corruption scandals. This guy does it all. And again, this is not to say he's a dirty lawyer at all. He actually is well-regarded and well-respected. And he's apparently very well-liked by juries. And that's oftentimes how he gets the kind of decisions that you want or that he wants. In any case, everybody's making money. I could go on and on, but there it is. A lot of people.
Sharp. Look at him with his purple striped tie and his purple.
Always,
like he's going to a wedding.
Yeah, he always liked that. Yeah. Randy doesn't like it. Randy says he's not crazy about that tie with that suit.
Oh, well.
Well, there you have it. Those are a few of the former president's lawyers and the money that they are pulling out of this case.
I was reading that it's in total that's been paid out $140 million to legal fees. Yeah.
No, that's exactly right. In fact, there was a great piece in Open Secrets, which I recommend to you all. If you haven't found it, you can find it across the web. Open Secrets talked about the fact that Trump PACs have steered all that money, and as was said by Kim, either 130, 140 million, depending on who you look at. But they've documented it all. And this money is coming from those PACs, and it's all to cover legal fees, okay? That is the bill being paid. And the rest of it, I'm sure, is being, again, channeled to lifestyle and all the rest. These PACs, very loose when it comes to where that money's going to go, as you're well aware. And that's part of the, I'd say, flawed political system in America. And on that note, and this is how I'll finish this out, this has to do with scam PACs, okay? These are, again, political action committees that are scams. They deceive political donors with various stories. And where the money goes and ultimately where it ends up is not something that a lot of donors pay attention to. Scam PACs work like this. They fundraise under the pretext that they're supporting a specific candidate or an issue-based cause, like fighting cancer, let's say. Or veterans is another popular one. That money is used to engage in more fundraising. And so that sets in motion a vicious cycle of essentially swindling donors, right? And a lot of those donors are elderly, as we've said. So the FBI and the U.S. Attorney for the Southern District of New York announced that a PAC treasurer, this was just happened this past week, Robert Piaro, and a fundraiser, Richard Zeitlin, that they were indicted for defrauding donors while soliciting money through a comprehensive telemarketing scheme. Again, it was completely faux advocacy. Unsuspecting citizens gave millions of dollars to Piaro and Zeitlin's scam PACs. Without knowing the signs, it's easy to mistake a scam PAC for a legitimate political group or a charity. So what should you look for? One way to identify a scam PAC is when a PAC reports that the majority of their expenses went toward, quote, fundraising or consulting, or a large chunk is spent on administrative costs, or compliance is another sort of one of those words. Or what's compliance? That's often a sign that the PACs are not engaging in political advocacy. So the number of PACs spent with money spent on fundraising is huge. And I hate to say it, but it's mostly Republican or conservative PACs. I mean, by over 2-1. And those are just the facts. So if you want to read more, you can read it over at Open Secrets. They had a good piece on this. And that, my friends, is your chunk of Trump.
That's right.
That's it for this edition.
Well, I really enjoyed it.
But make sure to join us again next time
I think you might want to listen. There's nothing wrong with listening.
for another chunk of Trump.
All my political junkies, I have one little morsel for you. Yeah, I do. Yeah, I do. Ron DeSantis, everybody's favorite governor. The guy who's taking books out of schools and waging his war on Disney and wokeism, and that guy, Ron DeSantis's PAC chair, okay? Apropos of PACs, apropos is a ding word. DeSantis's PAC chair claimed that his Sizzler training course that he took, he claimed it as a business degree on his resume, everybody. I mean,
What?
That is BALLS's. Former Iowa State Senator Mark Chelgren, who serves as one of the chairs for Ron DeSantis' Never Back Down Super PAC, listed his certificate of completion from the Sizzler restaurant chain employee training course as a business management degree on his resume.
Well, he's not wrong. I mean, it is, post education, post baccalaureate. Yeah. It's extra. It's an extra little
yes.
certificate.
Okay.
Extra knowledge you have. Thanks, Sizzler.
Well,
Who is having that conversation?
Shelgren explained that he didn't realize that a training certificate was different than a college degree. Really? And you're running
What?
He claimed that he got the certificate when he worked at a Sizzler in Southern California in the late 80s when he was 19. Right. And you thought that was a business degree? He listed the source of his degree as Forbo Management School, so he left the word Sizzler out. Forbo is the name of the company that gave the employee training for all the employees at Sizzler restaurants. Shelgren once introduced a bill into the Iowa Senate to freeze all faculty hiring at all Iowa universities until they hired more Republican professors. Okay? That's who this guy is. Literally. And by the way, they've removed the business degree from his references on the website there at the DeSantis Super PAC. So, yeah, you're up to speed.
The Mark Thompson Show.
Wow. I mean, I'm telling you, get away with whatever you can, I guess. It's...
Well, I mean, at least that one was based in some type of truth. It's better than a George Santos lie.
I don't know. I mean, maybe slightly. I don't know. I mean, you get a Sizzler training class and you call that a business degree? I don't.
You, sir, are a liar.
Yeah, I don't think that it's a. Anyway,
You are a cover-up artist, and you are a liar.
Exactly. I think both of them apply. Smash the like button like a boss. Give us a thumbs up for Kim's news, and then Karen Dawn from Dawn Watch as we continue. Mark Thompson Show.
The Mark Thompson Show.
On the Mark Thompson Show, I'm Kim McAllister. Donald Trump's lawyers are right now at the Fulton County, Georgia courthouse negotiating the deals of the former president's surrender. Trump's lawyers arrived at the courthouse to work out the terms of Trump's bond this afternoon. Trump and 18 co-defendants have until noon on Friday to voluntarily surrender to Georgia authorities after being criminally charged in the state's 2020 election case.
Don't ever use that word.
Yeah, surrender, right. Surrender's got to be a tough one for Trump, right? I mean, that's got to be really, really...
Don't ever use that word.
Exactly.
Put your wallet in the bowl, sir. Come with me. Trump is accused of
Don't talk to me
illegally...
that way.
Trump is accused of illegally trying to overturn the results of the election. But
Yes, Judge Janine. I don't know if you heard that. Hey, did you see the stuff on Judge Janine this weekend?
Yeah.
I'm so sorry. I didn't interrupt you. But Judge Janine, Albert, did I send you the Judge Janine stuff? Didn't I? I sent you a picture of her by the side of the road with her Jaguar. Her Jaguar broke down, and she goes on social media to complain about the fact that she's waiting for 2 hours for the Jaguar people to show up. It was such a, I don't know, it was like a very Hamptons kind of complaint. Like, you know, my Jaguar's broken down, and it's been 2 hours, and no one's even come by.
She says, Jaguar...
There she is. Thank you, Albert. Thank you. That's it if you're watching on YouTube.
The quote is, Jaguar left me hanging. Yeah.
Jaguar left me hanging.
Her car broke down right in front of the Dunkin' Donuts.
You created havoc and chaos.
That's our Judge Janine. Yeah, she's a nut.
She was at Dunkin' Donuts. There she was with her Jaguar trying to get some donuts. That's all she wanted. No, it wasn't to be.
Okay, now I'll shut up. But I remember that it was kind of.
It is pretty funny.
She's pretty big Trump defender, of course.
One of former President Trump's co-defendants in his Georgia indictment is agreeing to a $100,000 bond. A judge on Monday signed off on pretrial release conditions for attorney John Eastman. Eastman faces multiple criminal charges for his alleged role in helping Trump try to overturn the 2020 election results in Georgia. Trump, again, and co-defendants in the case have until noon Friday to surrender. So all week long, we're going to be seeing 18 people coming to some kind of deal. There is a new report that says that Trump and Tucker Carlson, pictured here, cracking up. Oh, sir, you're so funny. They have already recorded an expected interview. That is according to NBC News. The former president intends to skip the first Republican presidential primary debate in Milwaukee Wednesday. Instead, he plans to air the pre-recorded interview with Carlson. It's not clear where the interview will appear, but Carlson has been releasing interviews on X, formerly known as Twitter, since he was fired by Fox earlier this year. Trump confirmed plans to skip the debate over the weekend, citing his consistent lead in the polls over the field of Republican candidates. Why would I debate the rest of those clowns? I'll just release my own interview.
Well, I got to say, and I try to be as objective as I can be. I mean, obviously, I think that this is an overwhelming situation when it comes to Trump and evaluating what he did and his various henchmen. But I got to say, if I'm Trump, I think he's made the right decision. Why go on a debate stage and have people take shots at you? Now, this guy, can mop the floor with these other dudes. Trump can mop the floor with any of these guys because he'll say whatever he wants.
Yeah.
Doesn't have to bear any relation to the truth. And he just keeps going and you just can't believe it. And he'll treat everybody on stage like, they're speed bags, right? There's no question about that. But there's no need to go wipe this floor with them because you're already wiping the floor with them, right? Yeah. They don't even show up in the polling. In fact, Albert, you have that polling I sent you. The polling is just so damning that, for the rest of these guys, like if you're Trump, why show up? I don't blame him for that. I think that's actually sharp. He will need to take the debate stage, and when the moment comes, he can go, and I'm sure he'll just kick whoever's ass he has to because he's really good. Again, once you've said in this debate, you don't have to say anything that's actually a fact. You can just make stuff up. Trump he's wide open. And then there's the polling. And look at this. In the primary, Trump's at 62%. The closest competitor is Ron DeSantis at 16%. Then you've got Vivek and Pence and Scott, and they're all done in single digits. This is a CBS News YouGov poll. So if you have 62% and the closest competitors at 16%, why show up? So I think he's made the right decision there. But
I think he wants to show up. I think his lawyers have just said, there's no way you can go. And all this legal stuff has come up. There are things that can be used against you. They're going to try to goad you. They're going to try to get you. And so this is a safe bet, right? You go on with Tucker Carlson, he's not going to rock your boat. He's not going to it's all very controlled. There's lawyers all around the room watching. Nope, I'm sorry, we've got to cut that. Nope, I'm sorry, this is acceptable. So it's a much safer thing for him to do when he's facing all this legal trouble.
There is that thing where, he's thinking to himself or maybe even saying, but they're going to be talking about me and I want to defend myself on stage, right? But Can
you let him finish, sir?
Yeah, I want to cut people off on stage.
Can you let him finish, sir?
You believe Chris Christie's going to be goading him the whole time, hoping he comes in a side door in a rage. He won't.
Chris Christie is the New Jersey smack talker. He really is. Yeah.
There is now a Ruth Bader Ginsburg portrait carving at the state capitol building in Albany. The New York governor, Kathy Hochul, unveiled it today as a way of honoring the late U.S. Supreme Court Justice. Ginsburg joined Susan B. Anthony and Clara Barton and a handful of other women who have portraits on the famous $1 Million Staircase. Justice Ginsburg was born in Brooklyn, was nominated to the Supreme Court in 1993, and is known for fighting for women's rights and freedom of religion as well. Not going so well in Washington state. They didn't clean out the milkshake machine very well, and so no more shakes. Nope. 3 people are dead, 3 others hospitalized after drinking milkshakes contaminated with Listeria bacteria in Washington state. The outbreak linked to ice cream machines not cleaned correctly at a Frugal's in Tacoma. Maybe they were a little too frugal with the cleaning supplies. I don't know. The Washington State Department of Health said the bacteria can affect people for up to 70 days after consumption, and the machines were used through August 7th.
It was wrong, it was stupid, and I'm trying to be a better person.
I'll tell you, they do. This is where you talk about regulation. And I talk about regulation, and I tell you, you have to think oftentimes as regulation is protection. And there are ways to protect the public. This is an actionable thing. This is why you have. I'm sorry. Yeah, this is why you just can't go around, not cleaning whatever machine when it comes to food and things that are consumed by people. You've got to have processes, protocols, and
we have processes and protocols.
Thank you.
Standards.
You need them and that's where regulation is when it comes to food consumption. When it comes to that water we consume, et cetera. And when it comes to the way animals are housed, to mention, Karen coming up, there need to be regulations and protections in place. Anyway, this is outrageous. People died from this.
Yeah, 3 dead, 3 hospitalized. And you're right. When you go to a restaurant, you expect that they have met certain standards and are certified in food prep. So somebody dropped the ball there. No shakes. No shakes for you. Travis Scott, remember him? He's the artist where there was a stampede at his concert.
He was my neighbor. He lives 3 doors down from me.
Does he really?
Yeah, absolutely.
Hey, well, go down and take him a bottle of
No,
wine.
I mean, not anymore.
Red.
I moved away.
Oh.
My neighborhood burned, and his house is one of the only ones that made it, by the way.
Oh.
Because it's all glass and concrete. It looks like SFO. Anyway, go ahead. Yeah.
Travis Scott is breaking a Spotify record set by Drake. Scott is now the most listened to artist on the streaming platform with more than 74.9 million monthly listeners. Drake sitting just behind Scott at 74.7 monthly listeners. The new record comes as one of his highly anticipated albums, Utopia, is coming out today.
There's never been anything like this.
Where are you on the Spotify? I don't know. We have to look that up.
No, I'm pretty far down there.
Yeah, you're not up there. Lastly, and it's shocking this even happens anymore. I don't even understand the story. It does not compute. The American Academy of Pediatrics is calling for a ban on corporal punishment in all schools. Striking or spanking children is legal in public schools in 18 states, mostly in the South. What? Yeah, I don't. New Jersey, Maryland, and Iowa are the only states that prohibit corporal punishment in both public and private schools. A separate study of Canadian children published last week in JAMA Network Open shows kids who were physically assaulted before age 14 are nearly twice as likely to develop mental illness later in life. I don't know. How are we allowing this to even occur? I don't know. Yeah. This report is crowdfunded, which means we do rely on you for support. You can find us at themarkthompsonshow.com. The Patreon link, the PayPal link is all there, along with so much more. And thank you so much. I'm Kim McAllister on The Mark Thompson Show.
Hey, which one do you use, Mark Thompson?
Use Mark Thompson.
Mark Thompson Show.
Oh, yeah, this will leave that up there for just a second, and I'll mention our virtual meet and greet is a week from today. It'll be Monday the 28th. The time is 7 to 9. We'll have 2 hours to hang out with only 20 people. We're limiting the signups to 20. It's $50 to reserve your private link, but RSVP to mtsmeetup@gmail.com, and then we will send an email back to you and tell you how to reserve your link. And then the meetup is the 28th. We're actually planning some fun stuff, and because it's 2 hours, it should be a lot of fun. So MTS meetup@gmail.com if you want to be part of it. 7p to 9p, those are Pacific times. And please join us. I think it's going to be fun.
The Mark Thompson Show.
We're starting this. It's kind of a pilot program. It's an experiment. But I hope it goes well, and I hope it's well received. Karen Dawn does her Dawn Patrol newsletter about animals and about other species on the earth besides human beings, and about the interaction and the magic that can come through all of these different species. And I find her newsletter to be so instructive, and it just sheds light on so many things. And so she was here once, and we said, well, let's have her come back and let's make it a regular thing. So I got to build a whole open for you and a big production element, Karen. It's going to be good. But for now, you just have me saying, how about it for Karen Dawn, everybody? Yeah. Look at you. Nice to see you.
Nice to see you too. I'm having the kind of hair day that calls for a hat.
Yes, well, that's we're all well familiar with those days, so no problem. Did the storm hit you, by the way? Are you in part of California that might have been
Actually in Austin at the moment. I'm back and forth between Austin and Southern California, but I'm
wow. Look at you.
Y'all can all go to hell, and I'm going back to Texas.
All right. Yeah.
Exactly. We're in hell here. It's 106 degrees today. But is this meetup in Los Angeles?
Well, it's a virtual meetup, so people get a Zoom because people will be joining from all over the country, probably.
Right.
At least we had last time we did anything virtual. We had one from Florida for sure. I thought we had somebody from New England also. So it's a chance to wherever you live in the world to join us. So, but more to the point, I want to get to this Orca. And this is the news that broke right after your last appearance with us last week. Tell us what happened.
You were prescient, unfortunately. So you asked about the situation with the orcas, and I think I mentioned that an orca named Lolita, who's also named Toki, and I'm going to talk about her two names, was finally due to be released after 50 years in captivity. And I've been in our movement. I joked that it was since 1850, but it's actually since about 2000. And during that whole time, I've been aware of, from the time I saw my friend Tim Gorski's wonderful film, Lolita, Slave to Entertainment, I've been aware of her plight. And she has been living in the tiniest, there we see what she should be doing in the ocean. She has been living, or had been living, in a tank in the Miami Seaquarium since 1970. So when I became part of this movement in around the year 2000, she'd already been in there for 30 years. And finally, about a month ago, I think it was March this year, actually, time flies, they said, okay, we are going to allow for her to be released back into the Puget Sound, where her mother is probably still swimming. There's about 70 of her family members who are in the Puget Sound.
She was taken from Puget Sound
In 1970, she was taken from Puget Sound. They used to have these horrifying killer whale orca roundups. And this film I mentioned, and some of this is also in Blackfish, but they used to capture these whales from the ocean and round them up into a bay, net off the bay, and then start trying to take the babies. And unlike the dolphin captures where they actually slaughter all the other animals, all the other dolphins around them, with the orca roundups, they didn't intentionally kill them. But in the roundup that Lolita was taken in 1970, at least one adult whale died trying to. There we see one of the babies there in nets. An adult died trying to get to her baby, and 4 of Lolita's brothers and sisters died once they were behind the net trying to swim through the net to get back to their mothers. And
there's a very powerful bond between the mothers and those calves, and the
oh my God,
I think they're called calves, and the reality is, as I remember, Karen, you can tell me if this is right. They're bonded. If not, I think they're with the mother for 2 years or something like that. But they're bonded for life to that pod. Isn't that it, more or less?
Yeah, absolutely. They don't. They're considerably more bonded than we are with our flying across to, Los Angeles or wherever we go.
Right. They stay together. Yeah. So that's why this event was it's so brutal, and the fact that you can see some of it is just heartbreaking. Anyway, I
would so recommend. I hope you guys will post a link to it for people to look at this film, Lolita, Slave to Entertainment. At minute 3, that's the tank that they had her living in.
So this tank is basically like a bathtub that they put this creature in for its entire life.
That's one corner of it, but I think you've got other photos but it's just ridiculous, the size of this tank that they put her in. But in this film, Lolita, Slave to Entertainment, at around 3 minutes in, they start describing the capture, and they've got interviews with people who were there, and then with one of the men who was involved in the capture, who can just never forgive himself. And they talk about the sounds that the whales are making as they're calling to each other. They're just crying and crying, and about the fact that they didn't even have to. What we see there is, as what we're seeing on the screen now, is when they were going after the whales, what happened is that all the males took off trying to be a decoy in one direction, trying to get the people on the boats away from the babies and the mothers, exactly, very much like in human society. But it didn't work. They ended up all in a bay, and they netted off the bay. And once you've got one whale in captivity, you don't even have to worry about netting off the bay for the rest of them, because they won't leave. If one's in captivity and they're all crying and screaming to each other, they're trying to get at the other one. They won't leave them. And as I mentioned, 4 babies drowned trying to get back to their mothers. And in the middle of the night, they took those babies out into the ocean. They slit their tummies open. They stuffed them with stones and sank them to the bottom of the sea. And there's some video there of those. Somebody was very naughty and filmed the babies at the bottom of the sea. It was supposed to have all been beautifully covered up. But years later, these guys who couldn't live with themselves anymore talked about what had happened, and that's
so true. Just a last point on that, and then you can speak to it. But I remember one of the more moving moments early on, I think, in these conversations with those who were involved, the gentleman to whom you referred, saying, "I'll never forget those sounds, and it haunts me every day that I was part of this."
Right. And what we're seeing now on the screen is the tank that she lived in. So when we say a bathtub, you know what? We're being horribly unfair. It's really a lot more like a swimming pool. So she lived her whole life in this swimming pool, and it's not the fact that it was the smallest pool in the country. But you know what? Who cares if it had been twice the size? If you see the capture and you realize what the family was going through as their baby was being kidnapped, and 4 of them drowned, and off she went. And they took 9 babies that day for distribution to marine parks around the country. And by 2000,
they could perform
absolutely.
for people.
Absolutely. And then when you see one of these films has, the capture footage interspersed with the performance footage, and it just makes you ill to see these people riding on their backs, and the audiences are watching, and nobody knew at that time what had gone into bringing the whales into these parks. And but that footage actually is from her capture, and that was in 1970. It was one of.
And you were saying nine were taken. I didn't, and they were distributed across.
By the time I got into the movement in 2000, 8 of them had died. And orcas can live. Their lifespans are very similar to ours. So when the leader she was 56, 54 when she just died. And I don't know if we actually mentioned.
Yeah, I was going to say. So she's just died. That is the point.
On the weekend. You and I were talking last week that she's finally going to be released. They were training her to get in and out of a sling so that they could transport her back to Puget Sound, where there's people waiting for her. The native tribes there are practically worship these animals, and they're dying to have her back there. And instead of being transported to Puget Sound, she was taken out of this sling dead on the weekend to be probably buried back there.
It's also a fact that these are creatures, of course, that are used to catching live fish. They have to be, and after so many decades now, just having fish, these dead fish, fed to them. There was a kind of a process of re-educating this animal to be able to live in the wild. So there was a process.
I hate to interrupt you, but just to see this photo on the screen now, these are the photos that we just grew up with all of this thinking it was fine. And then when you look at it, having seen the capture footage, and what is that woman doing on that whale's head? And
for those who are just listening, there's a whale popping out of the water, and there's one of the trainers that is on the whale's front, like nose, as the whale comes out.
Lots of fun. Yeah, lots of fun. And people don't realize that. Well, of course, these whales are willing to do these tricks. That's how they get fed. And,
they keep them hungry, and they feed them. Yes. It's such a tragic life of confinement. So. Let me ask you it's sad in itself, but let me just ask you a little more of a holistic question. there is an awakening, okay? There is the Blackfish, the other movie that we will do a link. Albert, you'll make sure you put a link in there in the description to the film that Karen was talking about. It's called, what was it called again? Sorry.
Lolita, Slave to Entertainment.
Lolita, Slave to Entertainment. There is an awakening now to the fact that this is going on. We don't now see these sea worlds and marine worlds of the world in the same way. We don't like the confinement of these creatures. We don't even necessarily like the confinement at zoos. I mean, we see everything a little bit in a little bit more informed fashion. Absolutely. Is that world changing is my question. I mean, is there movement on this stuff?
There is. And I remember you asked something similar last week, and I said that what's changing is not so much the conditions that the whales are in, but that, as you just said, the awareness is there. And we really saw that with the coverage of Lolita or Toki's death. And I'm going to talk about those two names in a moment. But pre-Blackfish probably, and pre-The Cove, she would have died, and the coverage would have just said, oh, our beloved Lolita, who we all loved so much, has died. And isn't it sad? And thank heavens a lot more of the coverage now with her death is what a freaking tragic life she had. Now that's most of the coverage, but there are exceptions. And I'm sorry to say some of the coverage that really riled me up the most is the New York Times in their opening two lines referred to her as an it just before it was supposed to be released back into the sea. And thank heavens, there are not very many news outlets who did that, but we've still got a ways to go if the New York Times is still calling her an it. And then it also referred to I thought this was the most bitterly ironic line. It referred to a celebration of her life.
Yeah,
like,
I mean, it's so her life.
What?
I mean, what life did she have? It's like,
oh my God,
yeah.
maybe if you want to celebrate her life until she was 4 years old.
Right.
But she didn't
but I just want to mention this now, especially since we're going to visit with you regularly. One of the things I like about what you do is that you focus on the way newspapers, television, radio, et cetera, media, in other words, describes a lot of these stories, these animal-related stories, because that's important. Just like politics, we always talk about media and politics because media handles the messaging around so many things that are political. Media does handle the messaging around things that are related to the animal kingdom. Absolutely. And so, as you say, when the New York Times says it's released, you've made it an it. It's not a thing. It's this highly intelligent, sentient creature with maybe more powers of understanding and certainly for its environment than we would ever have. And yet it's called and reduced to an it. So I love that you underscored that. Okay, we only have a couple more minutes. Move me on. I'm sorry.
Darn. Yeah. I just want to say about that
please.
Thing, that the Times was actually violating its own policy there in that we've been in touch with the Times before when they've called other animals its, and the official Times policy back when it had an ombudsman, the ombudsman responded and said that once an animal was given a name by humans, then they are expected to refer to that animal as a he or a she. I don't love the fact that, the animal becomes a non-object once we humans have named the animal, but at least stick to your own policy on that. So for them to call her an it was upsetting. I wanted to mention with Toki versus Lolita, I had thought that Toki was Tokatai, or Toki was a name that came after Lolita. But it turns out she'd originally been called Toki. But then after she was captured, she was brought to a tank, and there was a whale from her pod there originally called Hugo. And Hugo was much, much older than her. And he had been all alone in this tank since his capture, and they introduced Toki into it. And because of the big age difference between them, and they made it a few times, she was hilariously renamed Lolita because after Nabokov's Lolita, which is just, so funny. And so once I learned that, I became less excited about calling her Lolita. Hugo, her tank mate, used to ram his head against the wall and died a few years after it from a brain aneurysm. And that's why she was alone in the tank for the next how many years, though not entirely alone, because she had a dolphin who is now alone in the tank, living with her. And that's what I mentioned to you, Mark, is that we're getting more awareness about orcas, but dolphins suffer just as horrendously. And so PETA and folks like that are calling now for the release of this dolphin, please, into a seaside area. And I mentioned that I really hope that you guys would also put up a link to a story called Keiko, the Untold Story, because there's a lot of propaganda out there about the release of Keiko from Free Willy, about his release having failed. No, it didn't. He lived for years, swimming freely, swimming to Norway. And yes, he eventually died of pneumonia. Sometimes that happens, but it didn't fail. And we can release these poor beings who are stuck in captivity. And
I love that you mentioned that. Albert, will you link to that as well? So we'll have both the link to the film and we'll also have a link to that piece, right, Albert?
Yep, I'll have both. Thank you.
Okay, cool. That'll be in the description of this.
Albert, thank
I
you.
urge it's Keiko is not free. It's $3.99. I urge folks to spend that $3.99 and watch that movie. It will, especially if you've heard that release failed.
No, that's terrific. I can't wait to see it. I haven't seen the movie either.
You'll love it.
Karen, I love that you, in a way, end with something positive. In other words, that the Keiko story actually is a positive story in the end.
Yes.
And the other thing I would just mention, because you talk about the tank, and it just comes to mind, I think it's a good opportunity to mention this fact, is that, they put these creatures in this tank, and because they look the same to us, they figure, oh, great, well, now they've got company or whatever it may be. These creatures don't even speak the same language or act the same way. It leads to all kinds of fights. When I say creatures, I'm talking about the whales and the dolphins. They're separate. They look the same, but they are not the same. And it leads
I would definitely say far better for her to be in there with a dolphin than completely alone. But yes, it's not.
Oh yeah,
exactly.
I mention it more in the context of creatures of the same size, because there are a lot of fights and even deaths as a result of conflict. Yeah, over territory within this limited space. I mean, these are normally creatures that swim out over many miles. So look, we can go on because I find the whole situation outrageous, and I too, didn't know it, for years, but.
It is outrageous. We'll look back on it like we looked back on, feeding the Christians to the lions. What on earth were we doing? That's how we'll look back on it.
Right on.
I'm going to ask your listeners also to investigate Corky's situation. She was taken from the British Columbia waters at around the same time, and she is stuck in SeaWorld in San Diego. And PETA and folks like that are trying to get her out of there.
There are always ways to get involved. They do respond to public pressure,
Absolutely.
And Karen, it's dawnwatch.com. You can see that there, dawnwatch.com. And Karen keeps you apprised of everything going on in the animal community. I mean, your stuff is really so good. Thank you for joining us. I love that you'll be a regular, and I look forward to next week. Thanks, Karen.
I so appreciate the opportunity.
All right. Karen Dawn, everybody. Right on.
The Mark Thompson Show.
Well, we begin to wrap up. I ask you, Albert and Kim, is there anything you have?
Kim, how are you?
Yes.
Okay,
There is
go
something I have, a little breaking news, because we now have the information that former President Trump has agreed to some terms for surrendering in the Georgia election case. His attorneys have agreed
Don't
to
ever use that word.
Don't use the word surrender, Kim. It's
his bond in the Georgia election case is set at $200,000. So he's agreed to the $200,000 bond and some other also stipulations of his being free on bail. So that's the latest.
That stipulation's very strong. And good. That is the latest. Well, I hope he gets his day in court, Kim. I hope you and the liberal mob don't woke him to death. Pinky, big shout out to Pinky.
Big shout out.
$1 a day with a super sticker. Pinky serves up $1 a day. $5 from Spencer Jaffney.
Nice.
Come on, Spencer.
Big shout out.
Big shout out to Spencer Jaffney. Thank you so much, Spencer.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, everybody who finds their way to keeping us afloat. Honestly, we are crowdfunded, and we so appreciate the support. If you're a Patreon or PayPal supporter, thank you. That is a way that you can, on a monthly basis, support our crew. We can make payroll, and I'm excited to do that. Excited to continue this for as long as there is an audience to support us. So there's that. Albert, do you have anything for us?
Albert, thank you.
Do you have anything? Do I need to do anything?
It was a good
Okay.
show, Mark. Very good show.
Yeah.
I was happy, Albert. I must tell you, we had a lot to do. We talked about the Super PAC money, small donor money going to the Trump defense councils, and then we went through some of the defense councils and shared with you what they're all making. It's just good to know. It's kind of interesting, especially since all of those defense efforts are being fueled in the main by small donor money. So, but even as we talk about that, we showed you the poll of people believe what Donald Trump says more than they believe their own family. I know.
What?
Who are these families that people live in? So there's that. And, of course, we gave you the Ron DeSantis, the great resume builder. If you've had that Sizzler training, you can say you had a business degree. Exciting. So there's all of that.
I'm Shadow Stevens for The Mark Thompson Show. Bye-bye.
And the animal segment, which I loved, along with Courtney. There was a lot there, yeah. The After Party Live over on the After Party Live channel. Till tomorrow. Bye-bye.